Futures Finals. It is I, Mad Gamer II, joined once again by Chili. Are you ready for this matchup, my friend?
I am very, very ready. I've just done my German practice with our streamer Brownie, which didn't go too great, but I am very, very ready for this match. And I do believe you said, I'm mad, this is a run back between these two teams.
Yes, it was Potager that actually sent bET to the loser's bracket to begin with, but not without a fair fight. I believe that set ended in a 3-2, so this honestly could be the tables flipped for both of these teams depending on how this goes out, but we will be starting out on Sturgeon Shipyard zones.
Yeah, this could be the 5-game scramble that we've been waiting for. And also, as we are now in losers finals, it is best of 5. It is counterpick City after this Sturgeon opening. So we'll have to see what both these teams bring, and they're going to have a lot of opportunities to adapt to each other. Power whipping out the Charger to take on Nakahara. So going to see E-Liter War as well, which I don't think we've seen this evening, have we?
No, we have not. Like, we've seen a lot of ballpoint and then like some mid-range pseudo backline action, but you're right. This is the first time we're seeing the E-Liters going up against each other, and we still have Simo on the Tenderbrella as well, so it's going to be a very interesting matchup.
I absolutely love that by the NZAP, basically getting a tactical juiced up and then just doing a full lap around bET's kind of side. Did work out well to create a neutral state, but unfortunately lost a couple of players in the process as well. So bET managing to get the zone and with a free player kind of advantage. So that's quite a scary position for Potager to have to try and recover from. bET definitely showing that it was no fluke that they gave Potager a hard time on winner's side.
Indeed, and like on Sturgeon Shipyard, this is the position that is hard to break out of. Like once one team gets control of mid, is able to push into the core area, just overrun their snipe pretty much. Like we see Simo right here just absolutely locked down this right side. Potager is having trouble getting back in. However, with 2 members down, including that E-Liter, they're able to flip the zone, is starting to take down on the penalty.
Yeah, that was really nice patient play by them. They had a bit of a struggle getting back in, but as soon as they got one opportunity, you saw how grouped up they were together when they all jumped off that high point, just completely overran bET to get that control again. But bET already taking one player down, looking what they can do here to already contest. So it feels like this is a very kind of confident display from both teams. They're feeling each other out, but there's not really that much hesitance. Both teams have a game plan. Both teams know how each other ticks. Maybe we're seeing that kind of awareness from how they played the winner's side set come through, because it just feels like a really intense scrim right now, and I love it.
The NZ just put in some work once again, going and getting the 2 down and an assist on a third. Potager able to just completely lock down the zone. Simo's the last one remaining, but they are also going to be taken down by the NZ. Absolutely going to town here. Potager able to get into position that bET was in before, but with the ink strikes coming out, there's going to be some zone contention, but they're able to weather it out and keep control.
Yeah, the Potager players will have to forgive me because I don't know who the NZAP player is. I can't recall them off the top of my head, but they've had a beautiful showcase here of why this weapon is quite meta right now. All the things this weapon can do, from just how good the tactical is in coordinated comps to how you can take advantage of the brilliant movement that is provided by the NZAP. Potager have worked their penalty up and still have really, really good control of the map, going so deep into bET's territory despite them having good control on their side. So this is pretty challenging to recover from. The E-Liter's got the wave breaker on deck, so bET have to make a move and have to make it now, probably much more aggressively than they would like to. Simo leading the charge with the Brella to protect the Slosher. They're doing everything they can to get back in and paint, but the NZAP has gone down. The E-Liter and Tenderbrella has gone down, and Potager look like they've recovered and managed to clutch out that game 1 after what was a pretty rough start.
Yeah, that is the key feature of zones, is that like if it can pretty be back and forth. Like if you're able to just take that zone for a second, flip it to add some penalty points, that's going to keep you in the running. But if you lose out on your attempt to retake zone, that's just going to leave you in a pretty bad spot, especially as you get it down to like 30 points and below.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think really good display of what bET can do that game. It's nice to see Simo have this kind of showcase with the Tenderbrella at a high level play, because it's got quite a unique play style. I think it swaps between you know, kind of creating a supportive space for the rest of the team to shine, and then just being really aggressive and just using the shield to kind of hide behind while firing out these giant gunshots. So I am really enjoying the Tenebrella kind of finding its way into the meta after the recent patch, but Potager just did such a good job of working around it and not giving SEMO the space that they needed for that to work. So we're here at Brinewater Springs now. Understandable counter pick. The Tenebrella has a field day on the ramps on Brinewater Springs, but and as do E-liters, but both teams have an incredibly strong E-liter, so it's not like one team gets an overwhelming advantage in that regard.
Yeah, that is true, and I feel like with Sturgeon Shipyard, it's just a pretty wide map, and I think, as you said, Brinewater is a playground for Tenebrella. Like on Sturgeon, you have to, or just you can't really lock down a one area with the shield. You're just the other team can just kind of go around, but not so on Brinewater. Brinewater, you have a couple more choke points that you're able to hold. So that is definitely what you want to be going for.
Absolutely, and oh, that snipe there shutting down the tacticaler before it could go live. That is a harsh denial for Potager, and bET, really strong opening here. Gorgeous snipe again, coming in from power, and this is looking a very, very strong bET right now. They have a game plan on this map, and they're executing it beautifully.
I am also realizing as well, like the E-liter and Tenebrella combo, they have 2 weapons with ink mines. That's a lot of ink mines on this map. There's nowhere you can go that they don't know about if they have them placed. And already we're seeing just the complete lockout that bET has on Potager right now. So far, Potager has yet to take back the zone, and they're losing members left and right.
I didn't even clock that ink mine spam until you mentioned it, but you're right. Is that the secret new tech, IMAD, that we've been waiting for? Is like ink mine spam. The sub that often gets memed on, because do you know what, if you stack them up, it is a real pain in the backside, not even just for the damage but just for being tagged. It's kind of the closest this game gets to an echolocation, and it's painful. But yeah, looks like Potager finally get a cap, but my gosh, they have to work so hard for that to happen. I think that's a bit of an unfortunate try-strike, maybe thinking they got the jump and then being ousted. SEMO now jumping in, but in a real corner, so bET getting pressured quite heavily here. They need to calm down, they need to regroup, they've got a lot of time to work with, but Potager, you do not want to give them any room to breathe, because they're just terrifying once they get going.
No, absolutely, and bET seems to be a bit staggered right now. We see SEMO once again in a 2v1 situation, able to make the most of it, getting one down before getting taken out, but Potager has them on the ropes right now. bET has, as you said, just to calm down, regroup in order to take the fact that they have plenty of time to do so. They can definitely turn this game around. All they got to do is cap the zone to add more penalty points, but if Potager is able to just keep them dislodged as they are right now, they could easily take this back.
Yeah, bET getting that very, very brief penalty is allowing them to kind of stay in this and still take the time to regroup. I've got to say though, what other weapon can be cornered in a 1v2 and come out of that relatively even? That is only Tenebrella things, really. I don't think any other weapon has a hope in hell of getting a trade or anything there. So yeah, very good gameplay from SEMO, but they are in trouble now. I feel like momentum has shifted incredibly heavily in Potager's favour. bET really don't seem to know how to set up a retake. They're popping the tacticaler, but then while flagged by the tacticaler, they've got to find a way to get through Potager's defensive, and Nakahara set up there to shut everybody down. Looks like Potager playing it quite safe and relying on bET to come to them, knowing bET is scared to. But as I say that, not quite sure how they pulled it off, but that is a huge clutch penalty that they've secured.
Yeah, once again, all I had to do is cap it for just a little while to add some more penalty, but they're able to do more than that, held on to it for a good chunk of time, and they're still technically in control, even though they did lose their bucket during that firefight. So now Potager is the one on the back foot trying to regroup and find space, and they are able to contest the zone to keep it from ticking down, but they don't have the presence that they had just a few moments ago.
Yeah, they've got 1 minute and 20 to hang in there. bET. I totally believe they can do it from how they've performed. It is getting a bit scrappy now. We're seeing some slight slip-ups or positional errors from either side, as you tend to, as you get fatigued as the game goes on, or as things, as the timer starts to kind of affect you psychologically. Potager setting up a bunch of coordinated specials beautifully here. They have the wave breaker in the middle, they have the tactical there, but in comes the tri-strike. Beautifully done by the Slosher to deny and shut all of that down. And again, Potager's penalty extended ever so slightly, but enough to be applying that pressure. And if bET can just keep a neutral state here, keep these trading or keep these revenge exchanges, that's all they need to win this. But 35 seconds on the clock, anything could happen. Things move very, very quickly in a game like Splatoon 3.
I think the one downside to bET's comp right now is like they're solely relying on the NZAP for the majority of their paint. The rest of their comp is dedicated to getting splats and able to hold a good amount of space. But once they lose that space, Potager has like 3 shooters that can just paint relentlessly, and so when it comes down to a paint battle, bET is going to lose out on that.
Absolutely, I think that's a really good observation. And Mikey as well, coming in so deep here. Mikey absolutely popping off with the Zuka kills and then rushing up so far, and they have lost that space that you have quite correctly pointed out they need. But Revenge Zuka coming out, Kura, triple ink strike, and that is going to get a bit of a cheesy cap, and that is all bET needed to stay in there. But I'm telling you, Imad, the way that game was going, if that was longer, I feel Potager were just crawling back into that more and more as that game went on, and bET kind of, you know, clutched that out and did really well, but we're losing control a bit there as that went on. So they have managed to even the score. That is going to be really, really important in a best of 5. That's going to give them that breathing room. But yeah, Potager were making that very scary towards the end, I think.
Yeah, I agree, Chili. And like, I think bET was able to come out on top there simply because they were able to get such a good lead so early on. Potager was basically playing catch-up for the remainder of that match, and I think, as you said, if they had more time to do so, they could certainly bring that back, because they were just chipping away at the points they had.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see where Potager go here, because I think that will have spooked them a bit. Like, they had a bit of momentum coming in from game 1, and they've had that kind of denied. It showed that Brinewater was the right counter pick. It has worked out really well. And that's what I love about counter picks. It just allows people to find a way to kind of even the playing field or just regain a bit of control. I work in a mental health background, so the psychology of it all is what just always really interests me. Not in a psychoanalyzing way, I'm not clinically trained, don't worry. But it'll be interesting to see how they respond. As you pointed out, Potager did clutch it out of 3-2 on winner's side, so we could just be seeing history repeat itself, or this might be a bit different to how it went the first time around. We didn't have the privilege of seeing the winner's side set, so this could really go either way with the way these teams are.
I think, once again, like, if whichever team is able to take the first match, the default map of the set, that is definitely going to set the pace for the remainder of them, unless you happen to have a counter pick that benefits both teams, and then at that point just comes to pure mechanical skill. But so far, because Potager had that first win, bET has to be able to win off of one of Potager's counter picks here in order to take this lead back.
And that is not a trivial ask at all. Potager just don't really appear to have a weak map from how they've been since we've seen them on stream. And it looks like they were going to Manta Maria, which is... I love this map, personally. I like that there's a flanking option, but it's not an easy flanking option. I like that you've got the high ground with the grates, which, you know, high ground often very advantageous in Splatoon, but on grates, very unsafe in a lot of ways as well, can be heavily punished. I just think there's so many ways to switch up retakes here, and when you have 2 zones to contest as well, it's a massive ask for to hold both of them for an extended amount of time. So I think, again, this could be quite a back and forth, but there must be a clear game plan Potager have to take bET here.
I have to agree, and I was curious to see the Manta pick, because both these teams have been rocking the E-leader so far, but Power swapping to the ballpoint, which is exceptionally strong for Manta Maria. Manta Maria just beat another strong splatling map with that masked area, so we're going to have to see how this plays out, the ballpoint versus the E-leader combo. But other than that, no changes on either team so far, so they're still sticking with the same strategy they've been had so far.
And I do like the pick a ball point exactly because of those greats. Power has been a player around since the Splat 1 days. I vividly remember them ruining my life when I was a frontline on OTB. But Potager, no fear here. They came in swinging, really quick, zipping around those greats to get 2 down, to get those initial controls of zones. And they have managed to not only hold, but hold with 2 players down. So Potager looking really strong at the beginning of this match.
Indeed, and just absolutely locking down bET right now. With the E-Leader just set up on that mask, like I just mentioned, the ballpoint having such strong presence up there, the E-Leader is just not letting them get anywhere near the zones right now, just shutting down the street. But with the dualies going down, that's going to be their crab tank out of position, or out of commission, and with the inkjet coming out, they're going to be taking the zone back pretty quickly.
Yeah, bET lost the ends up there, which I think did hinder that retake. It was well coordinated in terms of their grouping up together to take control of that first zone. It has allowed the timer to pause, but they need so much more than that. They're 2 players down again on the receiving end of Potager's specials, and they're running out of time. 3.5 minutes left in the game, but only 15 ticks on Potager's timer. This is not what I expected on Manta against 2 teams of this caliber, and thankfully they get the nice penalty and manage to hang in there for a little bit longer. But wow, Potager are not letting up at any point.
Not indeed. Like, bET has a lot of catch up to do now. Like, we're in a reverse situation from last time where bET had the early lead, but now Potager, they're going to have to hold on to this, but they are going to be pushed out of mid with that 2 down there, so this is going to be best chance to kind of lock things down as Potager had before. And with Simo in the street area, it's going to be difficult for Potager to be able to bring this back, and a pick already is showing that.
Yeah, this is the deepest bET have been in Potager's territory. This is absolutely the best chance they've had to have some offensive momentum. Simo going so deep there and whipping out a close-range Zuka against 2 tactical feud frontliners. That is brave, but worked out pretty well until the revenge pick. Power is now set up where you were saying earlier, I imagine, that they would shine. They have ultimately decided to drop off, but they've managed to get good hold of the zone. So suddenly, what was looking like an onslaught now looks a much, much more even game.
Indeed, it's just the one thing working against bET right now is that the double zone that Potager is able to just to cap 1 to contest them, and they're able to get 2 to add a little bit of penalty onto bET before they can take the lead back, so they have a little bit more hill to climb now. But with the 2 members of Potager down, they still have relatively good control of mid, and so they don't have too much trouble bringing this back. But that E-Leader on that left side, they're not letting them take back space too quickly.
And I do wonder if this is almost the exact reverse of last time in terms of Potager going for the kind of reverse timer stall situation. Both teams have colossal penalties to work off, and 23-point kind of deficit on bET's part outside of those penalties. So we'll see what they can do. They're going to have a very strong hold for this to work. I love the aggressive suction bomb play on the crab tank, but it unfortunately does not do what it needs to do. So again, Potager now quite deep into bET's territory. Really nice control of mid as that aerial view shows. So the uphill battles for bET here. They have got a pick. They have got an inkjet ready. They are popping it now. So this is going to be their best chance to make a play. We'll see if Power can get a pick. The ink strike coming out to support. That is what you'd want to see in a retake. And can Potager hold on? It looks like they somehow still have.
That's right. bET is holding on, fighting tooth and nail to bring this back. Like, they're able to push Potager out as we get into the last minute here. Once again in a position to just take control of their street. And with the bucket on the side, the E-Leader can't set up as it were before. So now they have an excellent control of all of mid here. And the bucket just absolutely going ham, getting the 3 members of Potager. And just the rest of their members are able to jump in, just the crab remaining.
Yeah, I feel that bucket knew the camera was on them then, because that was an absolutely beautiful display. Oh, nice response there from the frontliner to protect their teammate jumping in. That has absolutely been crucial in Potager getting a retake there. So again, that was a situation that looked dire for them. bET looked like they had everything set up. They had the numbers advantage. And off the back of one mistake by one player, they get a full retake out of it. It's unbelievable. And that's exactly what they need with only 5 seconds on the clock.
That's right, Potager, they do have 2 members down, but all they gotta do is keep control of one zone for the game to end, and they do just that, bring the score up to 2-1.
Very, very nicely done by them. I think they definitely were the stronger team for the majority of that game, but what I really love is that was not easy for them by any stretch of the imagination. bET were had some really good retakes. They had a very good opportunity to get a full lock that they just barely scraped out of. And then after that, it was just a bit of a war of attrition for the last kind of 2 minutes, really. So not a blowout by any means. Potager edging out bET a bit like they did winner's side, but they've got another counter pick on their hands. I was going to say they might take the time to think it through, but they've just immediately locked in Mahi.
That is a very interesting pick. Zones Mahi, that definitely is going to be seen to either making a return, but I think this could definitely benefit SEMO as well. They're definitely trying to play around the Tentabrilla pick. So having especially in that early game, there's not a whole lot of space to maneuver around the tent if you're able to set it up correctly.
I feel like Mahi as a map as well is just so unhinged. Like, I feel like it is just, I've seen so many unpredictable things happen on Mahi, and I've seen games that like blowouts get absolutely stolen just through one well-timed retake. So I happen to enjoy the map, but I find it incredibly chaotic, and I don't feel it's a very safe counter pick. I feel like you can easily kind of get cheesed on Mahi if you misplay. We'll have to see. That it was locked in very quickly, which suggests a lot of confidence by bET. And like you say, the Tentabrilla is in a very unique position that happens to work incredibly well on a map like this. So we'll see how Potager handle it, but wouldn't want to call this game either way right now.
Nah, for sure. I mean, Potager is on their match point here. However, bET was able to bring them to a 2-3 before, so if they're able to win this, that's just going to leave Potager's counter pick, and that'll just leave them in a pretty even playing field. But right now, Potager has the early aggression this time. They're able to take the control of the zone and just slowly moving their way forward, trying to lock out bET, but so far neither team has really been able to get a solid hold.
And Nadir, who has just been so impressive on the NZAP all evening, getting another double there, which has allowed them to hold. I feel like Potager have always been quite an aggressive team, but I feel like they've switched up the level of aggression after seeing that bET's kind of comps rely on a little bit of breathing room, and it just feels like they aren't willing to give them any chance to set up. Like, the splatter shot and the NZAP have gone so deep to apply pressure, but it's working. It is scattering bET in a way that is forcing them into really uncomfortable positions.
No, I agree. It does come down to, like, they do have the overwhelming paint here, and they don't necessarily have, like, the strike presence that bET has, but if they're able to just weather through whenever they pop those strikes, they can just outpaint them and, as you said, just keep them from being able to set up. But we do see the strikes able to get the flip there at a sizable penalty, so now bET is able to make something here, and with the low tide, there's just so much more room for them to maneuver now.
Oh yeah, this is exactly what they want. They've got good map control in mid. They've got options now in terms of where to go. The low tide map favors their composition a fair bit better. This is probably why bET want this map, but it's whether they can recover from how strong Potager's start was. Really, I think it's another position where they're working from a deficit, which is not the position you want to be in against a team of this caliber. It looks like they're trying to do what they can to position and use the kind of Brella as their main way in, but just look at these dualies zipping around. It's just constant pressure. Nowhere is safe from Potager's offensive onslaught.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, even just one of these members going in, even if there ends up in a tray, they're just wreaking so much havoc, because when they have control of the zone, it just leaves them in the advantage there, just allowing the zone to tick down for them. They are in a 2 members down situation here. However, they still have a contestant of zone. bET is able to flip it back in their favor, but they lose the puck almost immediately, so we'll have to see how quickly Potager is able to move back in.
It's incredible that they had 2 players down to 1, but because SEMO wasn't tactically juiced and both Potager's players were, they had all 4 back up way quicker than SEMO respawned. It is the impact of tactical on the meta is something that I'm really feeling at the moment after the recent buffs, and I think it has just shown how clutch it is in these games this evening. But they're running out of time, bET. The penalty for Potager is nearly gone. They have to get a solid reclaim now. They've proven they can do it, but they've lost 2 players at a time that is absolutely devastating for them.
No, indeed it is. And once again, it comes down to if you're able to successfully take back the zone. If you fail to do so, that could leave you in such a bad spot they are down to the wire here. They have to be able to take the zone back as we're down to 6 points, but they lose 2 of the members, including that NZAP. It is going to be Potager taking the match and the set as well, going back into a rematch with Grand Finals.
So, tragically, that is the end of one Revenge arc. bET have been slain, but what an incredible team they are. What a brilliant kind of showing from them, and very nice showcase of their weapons that they're just all, you know, absolute masters of. Potager showing why they have the #1 seed, showing that they absolutely are deserving of that title, and now they get to try out their revenge arc against the team that knocked them down into the losers bracket. So, I mean, we're in for a treat, I think, aren't we, Imad? Potager versus Hell's Paradise to close out what has been a stacked Triton Cup.
Absolutely, but that being said, Hell's Paradise did knock Potager down with a nice 3-0, and it wasn't a quick 3-0, mind you, but still 3-0 is 3-0, and the fact that Potager has to not only beat Hell's Paradise once, but they also have to beat him again in the bracket reset. They are definitely going to be fighting an uphill battle, but as we've mentioned before, they are coming off fresh off of a nice win against bET, so Hell's Paradise, they've been chilling quite a bit now, so we'll have to see if that comes into play here in this last match.
Yeah, I mean, a 3-0 was a pretty savage 3-0. There was enough back and forth in the games, but Hell's Paradise were absolutely looking the more consistent team in the winners finals set. I'm sure that will have humbled Potager. Like, they're not going to want a repeat of that at all. They know the threat they're up against now. They've seen how they play. They've seen their kind of favourable weapon choices. That's all information that is crucial when it comes to responding and kind of counterpicking and adapting. And a team of Potager's caliber, you bet they're going to adapt to this. So I would be shocked if it was a 3-0 in the kind of rematch. But you know, Hell's Paradise are absolutely savage. They've got legends like Noctis, who are known as masters at their craft. It's going to be rough for both of them.
No, for sure, and a lot of these teams up here in this top level, like, we've gotten to the point where they're not really swapping up their weapon choices too much. So as you said, that's more information that they have to go with going into this set, and so it is going to come down to like their team strategy and the map choices.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe we are going to be in kind of full counterpick territory again, which is beautiful. So we'll be starting on Hagglefish, but then full counterpicks from there. We are going to go for a quick break just while both these teams get set up and ready to go, but don't go anywhere, folks. We've got a very hyped Grand Finals coming your way very, very soon.
Indeed, stay tuned. We're going to be finishing up Triton Cup in just a moment.